When should I pass on a product in an area with a lot of competition? And when should I be open to selling in a niche with a lot of competition? I guess we could say niche for both of those, niche or product. So we're doing our Jungle Scout research. So again, the question is, when should I run when there's lots of competition? And when should I say, whoa, a lot of competition, but this is what I should be selling in? There's some intangibles with this one, not just related to just numbers, which I think is important to remember. So I'm looking at camping sleeping pad. I'm just on page 1 here. Let's open Jungle Scout here and kind of see what it's giving us. Let's load some more results. Okay, so you guys kind of know the process. And if you're new, don't worry. We kind of talked about this in the week 3 and 4, and I've got links to YouTube videos for you guys to watch. So if you're new and you're just getting rolling with us, there's all sorts of resources for you guys to learn like how to go about this process. But for those of you who've been here for maybe a while and you just want to review this, I'm going here, I'm sorting by reviews, and I'm looking and seeing, okay, do we have any big players? Yeah, we got a big player here. Like, this is a ton of reviews. But honestly, everyone under that, 4,000, is it a lot? Yeah, it's a lot. But you can also kind of compare that to like the daily sales, monthly sales, and the revenue and say, maybe this is a really, really high demand product. Yeah, like for me, seeing a bunch of these 4,000, 3,000, that doesn't really scare me that much. I'm seeing really good, solid numbers. I'm looking at the brand. These are not brand. Okay, this one is, but a lot of these brands are not brands that are like Coleman, Patagonia, like brands that are like really big box camping brands. Okay, if they were that, I would be a little concerned. Not like it's a no-go, but I would just be concerned. Be like, okay, I'm going up against the big boys. But like these Climate, I know is like they're in retail. I've seen them at REI and Costco and stuff. But these other ones, I think, are just like Amazon brands. So we can scroll and just kind of keep an eye on our daily and monthly sales, what it's looking like in comparison to our reviews. And yeah, I just want to see, okay, like we teach, you know, anywhere from the 50 to 300 review range, I would say, am I getting at least 10 sales a day? And yeah, like Fruit Team, never heard of them, 73 reviews, selling 21 a day, 12,000 a month with this pad. Great sign. Meat Peak, Chinese brand, YSXHW. Whenever you see like those types of brands, you're like, okay, Chinese brand, selling 12 a day, 120 reviews. Vekukti, yeah, like, and here's the crazy things, guys. Like, you can tell that a lot of these brands are just like really cheap Chinese brands, like, because they look exactly the freaking same as everyone else. Like this Fruit Team one, it almost looks the same. I guess the pattern on this is different. Like a lot of these, like people are literally just going to Alibaba and just buying camping pad and throwing their name on it. Invoker, Hikenture, like what the heck are these brand names? Like not taking the time for branding, yet we're seeing that they're all getting really solid sales, meaning you can come in and beat out these guys. You just got to be different. You just got to have added features, just be different, better branding, better photos, you're building your brand off of Amazon, doing all these things, right? That we kind of talk about. But when would I say, okay, this is one I want to stay away from? The intangible, like numbers aside, obviously, if like, let's actually, let's go to one that's like super ultra competitive. Let's try to go back to Yoga Mat. Let's see what Yoga Mat looks like. Because this one, a lot of them have a ton of reviews. Let's just sort. Okay, so here's a really good example of a product that I normally would just like stay away from. And we'll talk about why using this as an example. Number 1, lots of products with really, really high reviews, like over 1,000. So we're like big, crazy reviews. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is like potential for differentiation. Like that is a huge one. So this is a yoga mat. How different can you really make a yoga mat? Like there's only so much you can really do to it. Obviously you could do custom designs. Like I think this one right here. Yeah. So that one has like cool custom designs, which is a way that I would differentiate. But then you got to think about, other than that, it's just a big flat piece of rubber. You got to think like, what could you add to that would justify people buying yours over these guys? Because it's very likely that you'll sell a higher price than a lot of these low price ones. These are people squeezing out like a couple dollars per sale. Like their margins are really small, but they're chill with that because they're doing $400,000 a month in sales. But for you to try to compete with these people, you need to give people a reason to buy you instead of them. So if you just go out there and you're just pumping out the same yoga mat, has the same strap as everyone else, and you have like 3 reviews, that's why I'm just saying, if you don't really feel like you can strongly differentiate your product in maybe multiple aspects, this would be a sign that I'd walk away. Lots of reviews, can't really differentiate. That's kind of like the easy answer there. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people is say, okay, how are you going to differentiate? well, I'm going to make a different size. Is that a strong enough differentiation for this market? Probably not. Again, it's about knowing your market, like knowing who you're up against. If these reviews were like 300, 200, 100, 100, 100, and the only way you were going to differentiate was by a bigger size, cool. You'd probably be just fine. That's probably plenty of differentiation. But in this type of market with this much competition, simply having a bigger size is not going to cut it. Like that's not good enough for you to stand out. You need multiple different ways to differentiate, or you need a freaking massive budget. Like that's the other thing. I had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine over here at my house. I was teaching him how to do Amazon pay-per-click. We were talking about his product, and it's a very, very competitive industry, and he has to play a little bit tighter margins. That's why he's concerned. His margins are lower because he has to be more price sensitive because it's like this super competitive. So he can't afford to price too much higher. But kind of the question for him is like, what is your budget for like pushing this brand forward? Because if you're only going to differentiate on design, like if that's your only differentiation to all the other competitors out there, you're going to need a big budget and patience. Like you're going to need to know this could take 2 years. If I'm going to go out and sell a yoga mat with a custom pattern on it, like this one, let's just use an example, but my design is cooler than this one. Cool. Is that going to sell potentially? Yeah, maybe you do have a better design. Just know though, it's going to take a lot of money in advertising spend that you're probably going to lose money on because your margins are going to be lower. So it's going to be harder, more competitive. You're going up against bigger sellers with bigger budgets, and it's going to take longer. Like it's just going to take, you're going to have to build up your reviews, not necessarily to 10,000, but you're going to have to build up your reviews to more than like 200 in another industry. So it's just really understanding like your budget, your tolerance for risk, your passion around the product idea. If you're not a yoga person, like if you are a yoga instructor, you've been doing yoga your whole life and like that is your passion, yes, by all means, like pursue this, be patient with it. Obviously, you know, if the numbers and all that kind of stuff, like I said, with budget and all that makes sense and you're cool with that, then go for it. But if you're like just thinking, I'm going to sell yoga mats because they sell a ton and that's what Jungle Scout is showing me, but you don't do yoga, you don't care about yoga, I would not do this. You're going to burn out. You're not going to have the patience necessary. You're going to spend a crap ton of money and then wonder, hey, I'm still not getting sales. Oh my gosh. But it's like you didn't understand the long-term vision for this specific niche and category. So you do just need to really understand like what is the competition like? What is your relationship with the product idea like? What's your budget like? How many levels of differentiation are there? Is it just going to be a size, just a design? Is it multiple things? Like how are you going to brand this off of Amazon? If you live in the middle of Alaska, like one of my students lives literally in the middle of Alaska, is there a yoga studio that you can go take photos at? No. So like you're going to have a really hard time. You're going to be paying someone like in, you know, down here in the mainland to do product photography. That's an added cost. So like there's just a lot of those type of like unmeasurable things you have to think about to know when to say no to a specific product idea. And again, guys, that's the whole reason I'm here. That's why you're in the coaching program. So if you're having doubts about specific product ideas, communicate those to me, right? When you submit your worksheets in the question box, submit your concerns to me about what you feel about it, and then we can talk through it. Like exactly what we're doing right now. We can talk through it to see like, you know, about the intangible aspects of that specific product idea, how you feel about it, your budget and all those things. And then we can get a better idea of like, hey, is this something you should push forward with? Or is this something that I maybe say, you know what, based on what you're telling me, I would probably say this. That's kind of like what I do with a lot of people is they'll say, this is how I'm feeling about it. I'm like, you know, if you could listen to yourself, this is what it sounds like. So me knowing, having done this with lots of students and things, I'm seeing red flags by the way you're talking to me. So like take advantage of that to, you know, submit that kind of stuff for feedback. So, I mean, the flip side to that question that I said was, so when should I be open to selling in a niche with a lot of competition? Just basically the reverse of everything I just said. So yoga mats, high competition. But what I was saying, like you're really passionate about yoga. You're a yoga instructor. You have an Instagram account with lots of people who follow you because you post yoga videos. Like you have things to leverage. You have experience, information, insight about features that the common person wouldn't see. For me, I don't do yoga. So if I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, I'll do like custom design yoga mats and do like this cool design on it. But I'm just really shooting in the dark with my differentiation. Like, I don't really know. But maybe you know, looking at all these yoga mats or ordering a few, you know that the neoprene or whatever they're made out of could be better. Or like the one that you've used for the last 5 years or one you use, it would slide on the hardwood because of this feature, this material. Like, and so like, ooh, I'm going to make a yoga mat that's built with this special, coating on the bottom that's anti-stick, and it's different than what all these other ones are using. And it's going to be with this micro, what do they call that? Microbial, like anti-smell, like whatever. But like, that stuff, then yes, like this is potentially something that you could do well in. Like, because you have that experience, you have that insight, you have those ideas. That's why in the program we do, the internal audit, external observation, like those things matter. I've done podcast interviews with other Amazon sellers. I've been on a bunch and I've interviewed a bunch, and not many of them teach that philosophy of like building a brand around something you're passionate about. That's like super taboo in like the e-com world. Like, no, build something that makes you money. Okay, but if you aren't passionate about it / experienced in it, how are you going to develop a product good enough to compete with everyone else? Not to mention, if you're not passionate about it, how are you going to maintain the patience, the persistence to push forward when things are looking like not as hot as you think they should look? Because that's what people say that to me too. Like, they'll launch their brand and be like, I only sold $2,000 my first month. And they're like bummed out about it. I'm like, yo, I sold $600 my first month. So like, I don't know why you're crying. Like, I don't feel bad for you at all. You like tripled the sales that we did in our first month. But they're like bummed out about it. It's like, are you bummed out about it because you don't love your brand? Like, you don't love what you're doing. You don't see the vision for what you're building. You're not excited about it and you just want to chase money? Or are you actually excited about it? Obviously, we want to make money. That's why we're doing this. We're trying to build a business that can make us money. But if you're not excited about it and you don't have experience with it, or it's not interesting to you at least, then you shouldn't be selling it. Like, I promise you, you will get bored, you'll get burnt out, you'll get discouraged if it's not interesting to you or something that you feel passionate about. Because those first, 6 to 8 months selling, you ain't going to be posting $100,000 screenshots. Like, that's just the way it is. And that's totally okay. But if you have that long-term vision and the patience, then yes, a year from now, 2 years from now, you're going to be posting those big time screenshots and you're going to be super stoked about it. You're going to quit your job and all that cool stuff that people talk about. But it takes time, and you do have to work at it, and you do have to believe in your brand and your products. So that's just like me and my little soapbox there for that specific side of things. So don't just get caught up in the numbers. Make sure you're thinking about all those intangible aspects of the business that directly affect the effort and the product that you put forth, knowing like, is this really good enough? Or does this need to be better?